Thank you for listening to Heart Chat Stories. I'd really love to hear your thoughts, so don't forget to leave a comment and share these stories with someone who might need them. Each story is meant to help you pause, reflect, and think about your own relationships, how you love, how you heal, and how you grow. If you'd like more insight into the stories or want to add one to your next book club, visit graceguidance.com. You can find the full collection there, along with reflection prompts to keep the conversations going. And remember, every story in Heart Chat Stories is a chance to rediscover yourself, one honest chat at a time.
Erin's posture changed instantly. How long? They're not sure yet. I'll handle it, Erin said, already moving. I'll go myself. She turned to the group. I'm heading to the supplier. 2 hours there, 2 back. I don't want any delays. Julien frowned. You've been up late too many nights in a row. She shot him a look. I'm fine. I didn't say you weren't capable, he replied evenly. I said you're exhausted. I don't need a man to drive me, she said, irritation slipping into her tone. Julien nodded, unsurprised. I know exactly what you're thinking. She paused. And no, he continued, you don't need a man. That stopped her. But you also don't need to do everything alone, he said. I'm not offering because you're incapable. I'm offering because I care that you get there and back safely. The room felt quieter. Erin looked at him, really looked, his expression steady, not defensive, not patronizing, just honest. I want to take you, he added gently, not because you can't, because you shouldn't have to. Something in her chest shifted. This wasn't rescue. It wasn't control. It wasn't someone trying to take her power. It was consideration. Her grip tightened slightly around the coffee cup. Let me grab my bag, she said after a moment. Julien didn't smile. He just nodded, respecting the weight of what she'd just agreed to. As she walked away, Erin felt it, the unfamiliar easing of resistance, the quiet realization that accepting help didn't mean surrendering herself. For the first time, letting someone walk beside her didn't feel like stepping off her path. It felt like widening it. They didn't talk much at first. The city thinned into open highway, buildings giving way to trees dusted with early winter brown. The sky was overcast, heavy but calm, like it was holding something back. Erin sat in the passenger seat, seatbelt fastened, hands folded in her lap. She watched the road unfold, familiar tension settling in her shoulders the farther they drove. Julien kept both hands on the wheel, driving steady, unhurried. You okay? He asked after a while. I'm fine, she replied automatically. He didn't challenge it. Miles passed. The hum of the road filled the space between them, comforting and unsettling all at once. Finally, Erin spoke. I don't like needing help. Julien glanced at her, then back to the road. You're not needing it. You accepted it. That's the same thing to me. He nodded. I figured. She exhaled slowly. Growing up, I watched my mother need someone, and it cost her everything. Her independence, her voice, her sense of worth. Julien listened. So I decided early on, Erin continued, that I'd never put myself in a position where someone could control whether I felt safe or valued. That makes sense, he said quietly. But it's lonely, she admitted, the word barely above a whisper. The confession surprised her as much as it did him. Julien didn't reach for her, didn't offer platitudes. He just said, it doesn't have to be. She shook her head. That's easy to say when you've never had to fight for your space. He glanced at her again. I fight differently, but I still fight. That gave her pause. She looked out the window, then back at him. What scares me, she said slowly, is that letting someone help feels like the first step toward giving up control. Julien's voice stayed calm. What if it's not about control at all? She frowned. Then what is it? Trust, he said, and choice. The word settled into her chest. I'm not asking you to hand me anything, he continued. I'm just driving. You chose to get in the car. She swallowed. And if at any point, he added, this feels wrong, you say the word. I'll pull over. Something loosened inside her. The road stretched on, quiet and open. I don't want to become my mother, Erin said after a long moment. You won't, Julien replied without hesitation. You're not repeating her life. You're healing from it. She looked at him then, and for the first time, she believed he meant it. By the time they pulled into the supplier's lot, Erin felt it. Not dependence, not weakness, relief, and the realization that trusting someone, just a little, didn't erase her strength. It revealed it. Erin handled the supplier with precision. Contracts were revised, backup plans were secured, partnerships with florists on the other side of the storm were confirmed and guaranteed in writing. When there was even a hint of hesitation, Erin's voice sharpened. If this job fails, she said evenly, it won't be forgotten, and neither will the reason. That did it. By the time she walked back to the car, the supplier had promised accountability and delivery, no excuses. The moment Erin settled into the passenger seat for the drive back to Clary, the adrenaline drained out of her. The seat was warm. The road was smooth. She fell asleep almost instantly. Julien glanced over at her at a stoplight and smiled. Her head leaned slightly toward the window, face relaxed in a way he hadn't seen yet. She looked younger like this, softer, tired. She was exhausted, and he knew when she woke up, she'd probably be hungry too. Without overthinking it, Julien placed an order from his phone and had food sent to his house. He knew it was a risk. He also knew he'd regret it if he didn't take care of her in the way he could. When he pulled into his garage, the sound of the engine cutting off stirred her. Erin blinked awake. Why did we stop? She looked around, then frowned. Where are we? My house, Julien said calmly. She straightened slightly, one brow lifting. Okay. Is this the part where you lock me in and have your way with me? Julien laughed, genuinely caught off guard. No, he said, still smiling. This is the part where we eat, because we've had a long day. She studied him for a moment, then sighed. You ordered food? Yes, he admitted. You only think about work. Something warm flickered across her face. Surprise, then appreciation. Well, she said, stepping out of the car, that was thoughtful. Inside, the house was quiet and beautiful. Big windows framed the sunset, light spilling across clean lines and warm wood. The kitchen was open and chef-ready. The bathrooms looked like something out of a design magazine. Intentional, not showy. They ate at the island, laughing more than either expected. Erin's dry sarcasm caught Julien off guard more than once, and her laughter, low, unguarded, stayed with him. I didn't know you were funny, he said. I'm hilarious, she replied. I just don't perform for free. Afterward, he gave her a quiet tour. This place, she said, trailing her hand along the railing. You designed it? For my fiancé, he replied. She left before it was finished. Erin felt the disappointment before she saw it. I'm sorry, she said softly. He shrugged, but the hurt lingered. She didn't want the life I was building, he said, or maybe she just didn't want to build it with me. They reached a room tucked behind the main living space, a workshop. Tools lined the walls. Wood shavings dusted the floor. Half-finished pieces sat patiently on benches. This is where I think, Julien said. Woodworking helps me slow down. Erin looked around, impressed. Is this why you became an architect? He nodded. Partly, and because when I was 10, my house burned down. She turned to him. We lost everything, he continued quietly. I think I've been rebuilding ever since. Erin felt the weight of his honesty settle between them. Familiar, painful, and strangely connecting. Outside, the sun dipped lower, the sky glowing amber through the glass. For the first time in a long while, Erin didn't feel like she had to be anywhere else. And that realization scared her. Just a little. There was a knock at Erin's door just as she was kicking off her shoes. She frowned, glancing at the clock. Too late for neighbors. Too early for panic. Opening the door, she found a delivery person holding a long, elegant box wrapped in cream paper. I think you have the wrong place, Erin said. I didn't order anything. The delivery person checked the label. It's for Erin Lewis, from Julien Carter. Her heart skipped, just once. Oh, she said, stepping aside. Okay. She closed the door slowly, the box suddenly heavier in her hands than it should have been. It was the night of the Clary Christmas event. For the last 3 days, she'd been putting out fires, decor delays, last-minute changes, weather worries. Julien had been there through it all, making sure she had coffee, reminding her to eat, forcing her to step away, even if just for a moment. She wasn't used to that kind of attention, not the kind that didn't ask for anything in return. Standing in her quiet dining room, Erin realized something unsettled her more than exhaustion ever had. She had never let anyone get this close. Julien had slipped past her defenses without force, just consistency, care, respect, and after tonight, the event would be over. No more daily meetings, no more late nights, no reason to keep crossing paths. That was probably for the best. Probably. She placed the box gently on the dining table and peeled back the wrapping. Inside lay a dress, deep winter blue, elegant, understated, unmistakably her. Her size, her style, no guesswork. Her breath caught. Tucked neatly beside it was a small envelope. She opened it. I owe you a dress. I'd like it if we attended the Clary event together. I'll pick you up at 5:30. If you don't come out within 15 minutes, I'll assume I'll see you there. Julien. Erin sat down slowly, the note still in her hand. Her phone buzzed with another vendor update, but she didn't look at it. She stared at the dress instead. This wasn't pressure. It wasn't control. It was an invitation, with an exit. Her chest tightened. She had built her life on certainty, structure, and self-reliance. But standing there in the quiet, she realized how rare it felt to be chosen without conditions. 5:30. She didn't know what she would do. She only knew one thing. Whatever she chose, it would change something. And for the first time in a long while, that didn't feel like a threat. It felt like possibility. Julien stood under the awning outside Erin's building like he belonged there. Hands in his coat pockets, shoulders relaxed, expression calm. But his stomach wasn't. The driver waited at the curb, engine idling, the car's headlights washing the sidewalk in soft light. Julien checked his watch again, then forced himself to stop. He'd promised himself he wouldn't become the kind of man who pressured a woman into choosing him. Still, he wanted her to choose. He'd fallen for Erin's strength first, the way she walked into rooms and made people move, the way she didn't soften her voice to be liked, the way she led without asking permission. But somewhere between late-night drafts and coffee runs, he started seeing the other parts of her too, the parts she hid behind the strength, the parts that flinched when care came without a price, the parts that stayed ready to fight even when no one was attacking. She told him about her career path, about building a name that couldn't be dismissed. But Julien knew she was also running from her mother's bitterness, from her father's control, from the fear that needing anyone meant losing herself. And yet, with every hour they'd spent together, her defenses had shifted, just a little. Not because he was trying to break them down, but because he wasn't asking her to trade her power for affection. He was just being himself. Julien had his pick of women. He learned that early, how quickly attention appeared when people heard architect, when they saw his designs, when they realized he lived without chasing a weekly paycheck. Women smiled differently when they thought you could fund a dream. But he wasn't rich by American standards, not celebrity rich, not private jet rich. He was comfortable. Investments, contracts, long-term builds, enough stability to breathe, enough freedom to choose his work instead of begging for it. He wasn't even getting paid for the Clary Christmas event. He didn't need to, and neither did most of his crew. They were kids at heart, builders who loved wonder, volunteers who believed in the mission. They rotated between projects Julien lined up around town, and when the charity asked for a Christmas village, they showed up like it was personal. Erin never asked about his finances. She was too busy protecting her own, too busy fighting for a paycheck like it was proof she deserved her space in the world. Julien stared up at her building, jaw tight. He could admit it now. He wanted to be more than a project partner. He wanted to be the kind of man who didn't just admire her strength, but honored the softness she'd been taught to bury. He wanted to give her a life where love wasn't a trap, where partnership wasn't a cage, where she could stop proving and start living. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Nothing. He checked the time again. 5:43. He'd said 15 minutes. He'd meant it. If she didn't come out, he'd go to the event alone and meet her there like nothing happened. He wouldn't punish her, wouldn't sulk, wouldn't shame her, but he'd be lying if he said it wouldn't hurt. The driver leaned slightly out the window. Mr. Carter. Julian's heart jumped before he could stop it. Yeah?
Thank you for listening to Heart Chat Stories. Every story is written with love, to heal, to inspire, and to remind you that new beginnings are always possible. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so others can find healing through story. Until next time, keep your heart open and your spirit lifted.